Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us this evening. We're super excited to kick off our new program, Albright Illuminates. It's really a chance for us to meet interesting folks, hear different perspectives, and to come together as a community. So it is my proud honor to introduce Sue Perrotty. I think for many of you, Sue needs no introduction. But Sue is a proud graduate of Albright, class of 1975. And Sue has built a remarkable career in banking, business, and philanthropy. She's dedicated her time and leadership to countless nonprofit boards across Berks County. Honored with Albright's Distinguished Alumni Award, Sue is recognized not only for her professional achievements, but also for her deep commitment to empowering women and strengthening her community. And of course, we're joined by Albright's president, Dr. Debra Townsley. Dr. Townsley became Albright's president in July of 2025. She previously served as president of Nichols College, William Peace University, and Labouré College. She's known for driving strategic growth and transformation. At Albright, Dr. Townsley has brought strong financial stewardship and decisive leadership, positioning the college for sustainable success. I am so happy to have you both with us tonight, and with that, we will join our program.
Okay, ladies, thank you so much for joining us tonight. The first question we're going to jump right in with is, who opened the door to leadership for you both?
You want to start?
Go ahead, Sue.
Okay, well, I laughingly thought about answering this honestly, so I will answer it honestly. My first grade teacher, in an odd way, I cut school in first grade, and the way that they fixed that, I didn't like to come back after lunch. I thought a half a day was enough. So I didn't go back to school. That's when they used to let you go home for lunch, and I just didn't come back. My mother didn't know because I went to my grandmother's, but they put me in charge of checking all students in after lunch. So that was my first leadership job. And from there, I was in a leadership position in every class I was in. The person who made the biggest impact on my life, though, was my 8th grade English teacher. And I tell teachers this all the time. You never know when that moment in a person's life is going to spark something that's different. And he believed in me, thought that I was hardworking, and invited me to come work at a camp for underprivileged children. And I did that all the way through college, actually summers through college. So I would live away at camp with these kids every year, every summer. And it changed my perspective on life and set me, in my opinion, on a great track, because I was doing so much. You know, in high school, I'm running a big camp for hundreds of kids. And so I had these early experiences with this teacher who sort of took me under his wing and taught me so much more about life that I didn't know. So he was probably the biggest impetus in my life.
So what was your first leadership position?
Well, at the camp, it would have been when I took over as the head of the kitchen. I think I was maybe in 10th grade or 11th grade, and I was running the kitchen. So that was 100 kids, 3 meals a day, all through the summer. And I learned about purchasing. I learned about sort of crisis management. I learned about timetables. I learned about planning. You learn so many lessons that you don't realize are going to bode well. And I learned how to cook because I worked with a lady that was a great cook. And after she left, I took over as the head cook. So I laughingly tell people I'm actually a pretty good cook as well. But in my working life, I would say that it was in my banking career that really it was the CEO and the president of the bank who gave me an opportunity to not only enter the room but have a seat at the table. And we led a lot of change. So we'll talk more about that. But those are the guys that in my adult life really set me on a trajectory of being able to lead change with confidence and with safety. Right.
Well, it's funny you said at the beginning, whether you honestly answered it or not, because when I saw that question, I thought, okay, if I was honest about this, it was Girl Scouts.
Right.
And I I was always a section leader, team leader, and I would be the treasurer and run all of that. I still remember back in fourth grade and realizing I liked this and could do this. And then in high school, got a job at Friendly's Ice Cream and ended up being a shift supervisor and a trainer and then almost an assistant manager. I would do the purchasing and, set up the schedules and ran the grill, which was a thrill for me when a bus came and you're managing all of the grill. And I thought, yeah, that really set the tone for me as it did for you. So I was glad to hear you say that because I thought, oh, that's going to sound ridiculous that long ago. But it really did lay a groundwork for a career.
It does.
And then I did a variety of things, but I think in my job, the first presidency was interesting. So I got hired. I'd only been there 6 months, and the president announced he wasn't returning. And so we were all sad. He came out of industry, and he said, I'm going to retire. And after 6 months, what? He'd only been there a year and a half. So at lunch, the board chair and he came over and said, we'd like to meet. I said, okay. Come in the office. Said, oh, no, to the basement. I'm like, what? What are you doing? And they said, we need a private place. So we went down into the basement with the big old heater that's probably the size of this office back then. And they said, will you do this? I said, do what? What do you mean? They said, you know. I said, no, really, I don't. They said, will you be the president? I said, oh, I don't know. I mean, I just got here. And so at 4, they invited me over to meet the board, asked me a bunch of questions. I went back. An hour later, I got a call, and they said, congratulations, Madam President. I'm like, whoa, I didn't say I'd do this. So, but it's kind of, what do they call a silver lining? So on the one hand, I didn't say I'd do it. On the other hand, what an opportunity. Right. And so that's how I got my first presidency. It was a crazy situation. And I'm sure in your time you had something that was crazy.
But being president is very different, right? Being the president, being the last person. I used to joke that I liked being the number 2 person much better because I still had someone's butt to kick. Yeah. Right? And when you are the president, there's nobody else. Right. Really, it's just you.
It is.
And the power of your words are very different. The impact of what you say, how you say it, who you say it to, very different.
It is. Yeah. And it's lonely at the top.
It's very lonely.
I mean, you hear that term, and once you do it, you realize it is. But it's also so gratifying to carry out a vision.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct. Well, I sort of cut my teeth in corporate America and moved up because of the culture work that we were doing. So I talk about that because people just don't remember. And the 70s were very different than the 80s. Yes. So we went through a sort of a cataclysmic change in the early 80s where we really opened the doors to women to work. Up until then, women had jobs, but they weren't really in career paths. Yeah. And suddenly it's shifting, and we're moving women into career paths, and we want them to stick around. So it was that work in the very early 80s, before diversity was even a word, that was being talked about anyhow. That's how I got started with these 2 guys. And it helped me to move through the organization, but more important, in my opinion, is it helped the organization to become a leading organization, a place where people wanted to work, not had to work, and where they believed they were part of something bigger than just the job that they did. And it created just an energy and a culture of confidence, but it was hard. It was very hard in the beginning, and it was not without real hard conversations, dangerous, scary conversations. I was quite sure that I would lose my job over bringing up hard issues, but I didn't. And in fact, they gave me more latitude to bring about the change. And what I said at the time was, we are hiring lots more women, but we're barely surviving. And there has to be a way for us to thrive.
Mm-hmm.
There has to be a way we can figure out that we can thrive in the environment right along with you. And that, of course, led to all the work that we did around embracing people of color and the things that we did that became a part of the culture.
Right.
But that's where it changed, and where you
Yeah.
really begin to feel the power that you have
Mm-hmm.
and use it to make good.
Yes,
And to
I
create change.
agree. It was a very interesting time.
Mhm.
It was a time when, as a woman, I would interview and be asked when I was having children because they were sure I wouldn't stay, or being asked to type just because you're a woman, you must know how to type.
We always got to take the minutes.
Yes,
For sure.
yes, and all those questions. And it was funny because I decided that I'd like to get to a position where I could impact how women can be integrated, how represented groups can be integrated over time, and have that kind of movement. I mean, men, same job, were paid more. I was in a role at a women's college, and they hired a man, and I went to my boss. I went to him first. I said, "How much are they paying you?" He goes, 14,000. I was making 11. So I went to my boss and said, "Hey, what's up with that?" And he said, "Well, you have a husband to support you." And so those were the days
Those were
when
the
it was
norms.
just happening. And so to forge that through. And then I taught women at a women's college. And it was interesting because it is true what you hear about women's colleges back then, is that women had to take leadership roles. And then I went into a setting where it was co-ed, and when I started in higher ed, it was disproportionate, or about 50-50 male, female, or 60 male, 40% female. It's now reverse, actually, in the industry. But women would take a leadership role in a group, and I'd have to go back and send the groups out and say, "Okay, we don't have one woman who is in a leadership role here, so let's regroup. I want you to discuss this," because I was teaching business. So you had to integrate and realize there was a shift coming and change how people thought. And it's fascinating.
That's the important is the shift happened quickly.
It did.
And I tell women this, and men, because I think it's important that we all understand it. I print it out, and it's funny because when I give speeches, sometimes I talk about this history.
Right.
I printed out the history of women from the start of our nation. So 250 years
Yeah.
we're going to celebrate. And the first page is the first 200 years. The next 5 pages are the last 50. And I said it's just a visual of how rapid the change has been,
Right.
and how much needed to change in order for them to, for us, for women,
Right.
to really integrate into the working world.
Yes.
Because I think people find it hard to believe, especially having run banks. But I couldn't get a credit card when I graduated
I
from
couldn't
college.
either.
Girls could not get credit in
No.
their own name.
Right.
I little tongue-in-cheek tell this one, it was in the timeline. It
Yeah.
wasn't until 1966, which is not that long ago, that women even had the right to own property in the state of Mississippi.
Right.
And people just don't realize how much had to change.
Yes.
One of the things I didn't realize is that when we were originally founded, women had the right to vote. 3 years later, they took the right to
Right.
vote away.
Yeah.
So that was a purposeful act to take away the right to vote. And it took them almost 200 years to get it back.
Yeah.
So, you look at that, but it was visually telling that this change, and I say this with great affection for the men I worked with, this is a big change from the
Yes.
world they grew up in.
Right.
And we all need to be patient, and we all need to be helpful, because we're making a journey that doesn't have a path laid out together.
Right.
And we need to help. We need to stop screaming at each other and start talking with each other.
Yeah.
In fact, it was a turning point, and the CEO of the company I worked for at the time, a fabulous man, Sam McCullough, who was the CEO of Meridian Bank, and many people who are in Berks County would know Sam. But Sam said to me, "Sue, when are you going to stop screaming at me?" And I said, "Probably when you can hear me."
Mm-hmm.
And then we started talking,
Mm-hmm.
right? But it took a lot to get to that point.
Yeah.
The progress that we've made in the last 50 years is really sort of stunning when you look at it. But we have to be careful.
Yes.
We have to be very careful because it's a fragile. It's
Yeah.
a fragile truce is what I call it. It's
Yes.
a fragile truce.
And, there's a lot of work on change and culture, and my favorite author on it is Shine, and he's written a lot about this. And he says normally cultural change will take 2 to 3 generations. And to your point, it happened much faster.
So fast.
I do think the integration of people of color has been slower, actually, into the workforce. But a lot of it, driven first by women and now of diverse groups, is because of the need.
Mm-hmm.
There has to be employees.
That's why women
And
entered the
so-
workforce in big
Yes.
numbers. We needed them.
Exactly.
Right.
So it's driving that. But I'm with you. I used to go to men and ask them to mentor me.
Mhm.
They're not the enemy. They can't be.
They're a key part of the solution.
Yes, we all have to be together on this. I totally agree with you.
Right. But it's hard work, and it's hard individual work,
Yeah.
is what I call it. Moving forward requires you to find somebody you feel safe with and to be able to have hard and honest conversations.
Yes.
And to tell a story that you're not going to like to hear. And I encourage everyone, tell your stories.
Yeah.
We should all be storytellers. People learn from what we have experienced,
Right.
and we can share that by telling your story
Yeah.
and letting them see that I've fumbled through these things. I know people always talk about all the things I've accomplished. Well, I failed at a few things too.
Yeah.
But nobody asks me about those things, so we don't talk about them
Yeah.
as frequently. I will say that culture is really hard to get at
It
in
is.
corporations. And you all know that I had the great pleasure to work on the turnaround of Tower Health. And really what had gone south there, the financials had gone south, but the culture had slipped. And it was reinvigorating the culture that really turned the place around,
Yeah.
was reinvigorating the way we care, not just for the patients, but for each other.
Right.
You can't just like each other internally and then your patients just see something different. They see exactly what you are. And this was much of what I learned from retail banking.
Yeah.
I used to say the average consumer walks through the door and judges us based on how a teller treats them in that moment.
Yeah.
That is the moment of truth. And your brand is defined by it. So when you learn to live by the things that your brand stands for, you feel good.
Yeah.
It aligns, right? And when everybody's pulling in the same direction, you can turn things around. And that's how we turned around Tower, was first we got the people on board, right? My big learning was that we manage in corporate America. So I'm a full corporate America. That's where I grew up. It was always in for-profit, and it was always in public companies. So never even in private companies. It was always public companies. So I understood the burden of the market, how they watched you, what you could and couldn't do. But really, when you get through all of that, it's just about how people are managed. So I talked a lot about human capital. The number one investment that almost every business makes every day is human capital.
Yes.
We talk about our hard capital, we talk about our buildings, we talk about our equipment. We don't really talk about our human capital. And my learning over a lifetime is if you can get your human capital to really give you what they want to give you, which is their all, usually, right? Give an opportunity to give it all. It's amazing what human capital unleashed can accomplish. And that's what we learned. Because everyone said you can't turn a culture fast enough. You don't really have to turn a culture at Tower. What we needed to do was remind them of what's at the core of what we do, compassionate care. Can we give that to each other? It's pretty straightforward. first we have to be compassionate to each other, then we can be compassionate to everybody that we touch on the outside.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that so much of that is driven by mission. I think as a leader, mission drives so much of what we do.
In the not-for-profit arena, yes.
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 Well, it's for profit. Yes.
For-profit, there are
There is.
conflicting poles.
Right.
But when you are true to your mission, whatever that may be, people do connect to that if you live it.
Right.
So what I also learned is if you simply use the words but don't walk that talk, people don't buy into it at all. People do not buy into it at all. One of the banks that I worked with, this was a big issue for them, that they didn't feel that their culture was really taking hold in their people. And one of their people said to me, "We're so busy watching what they do, we can't hear a word they're saying." And that was so profound to me. This was an employee who said, "We're watching you and you don't act the way you're talking to us." And that was learning. That was a learning. And unless leadership is willing to walk that walk,
Right.
it doesn't take hold.
Well, my first corporate experience was IBM.
And that's a corporate.
Yes, and they had a culture, Big Blue, and they did walk the talk, and it was fascinating. In fact, Big Blue just down to, they meant blue suits.
Right.
And one day, a colleague of mine wore a brown plaid suit, and the manager walked by him and said, "I see you're working for Xerox today." I mean, it was a culture. And it was the best at the time in the industry, most innovative, most creative, best managed. Of course, it's so divested now and doesn't really sell hardware anymore, and it's a totally different company. But back in the 70s and 80s, it was fascinating and really showed me what culture could be. And that's a massive behemoth that managed to carry that out over all the years.
Yeah.
I went there just 3 years after the first woman in marketing was hired. And they hired a lot of women starting right off in the 70s. And that was a cultural shift, but everybody just got into the culture and they carried it out beautifully. And that was a learning experience for me to see how they did it so successfully to implement in later years.
Part of it is people learn by watching. And just like you said, a blue suit doesn't stand out. A brown plaid?
Yep.
Aren't you watching? Yeah. Aren't you watching how we all dress?
Yes.
And that was part of where I think women struggled initially, is we're watching, but you don't look like us.
Yeah.
And you don't have the same issues that we have, and you don't see the same obstacles. You don't have them the same way that I have them. And until we talked about that, that's, so culture is great if you can have it be so clear and visible.
Right.
And at IBM, it was clear and visible.
Oh, it sure was.
Correct.
There's no doubt about it.
Correct.
But IBM also really was true to its mission as well, of innovative technology and supporting people. And so years ago, In Search of Excellence, Tom Peters wrote a book about, stick to your knitting, figure out what your mission is, and stick to it and do it well and carry it out. And I always thought that was a big lesson as a leader, actually all the way through the organization of, yes, I'm in this department, but how does that relate to the mission?
Right.
And I find that when you're leading people, it's important to know what they want out of their job. And we know what we want employees to do while they're here. There's a job description and all of that, but how do we match up an individual's goals and their needs in doing the job with what the organization needs? And I think that's key to success as well as a leader, to help people be successful in their own professional lives of what they want to accomplish, plus what we need them to accomplish as leaders.
Correct. But again, giving them all the room to be everything they can be.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
and let that human capital explode,
Right.
because it is explosive.
Yeah.
Especially for people who are less confident. I always said it's the way you see yourself. You see yourself a different way than I see you.
Yeah.
I see the things you can do. You see the things you can't do.
Yeah.
And I call it training eyes. It's the work we've done, and every work that we've done about change or about leadership. They're training their eyes to see how can I be like that? What can I do to
Right.
be inquisitive?
Yes.
Right? Which I love. Education is all about being inquisitive.
It is, yes.
So being inquisitive learners all your life.
Well, and one of the key things in leadership is also reflection. So I worked at a Jesuit institution, and they stress in the Jesuit faith, they stress discernment. So learning something, but then reflecting on it, because when you reflect on it, it becomes ingrained. And so the term discernment is very popular with the Jesuits. And I thought that's a really important thing, and it's really important as a leader to study, and what you were saying, understand the people and reflect on that, and then how we can make it better, or how we can help people gain that confidence to move forward. That reflection.
I always talk about the hardest skill in leadership to learn is to listen.
Yes.
Right? It's hard because you're expected to speak all the time. How well do you listen? And I think it's the hardest skill to master is the listening, the art of listening.
Yeah. What are some of the other skills you think of for leaders?
For leaders,
Yeah.
Well, I have my own, and I have my little list of things that I think leaders need to be aware of the spoken word. All people should be aware of the spoken word. The tongue is the most lethal weapon that we possess, is our tongue. So I laughingly say, because I talk about how important it is to listen, and then how important it is to be mindful of your spoken words. And it's really, you have to do both.
Yeah.
Right? So when I talk about listening skills, it's listen with one of your senses. If you're listening to a person and you can feel that something's wrong, listen with that additional sense. Watch them. Because you learn a lot that way. But your mouth, so the words, and this was actually Jack Horrigan, who was a trustee of Albright College for years, a great mentor to me. He used to talk about, called it beware the spoken word. Does it need to be said at all? Right? So first of all, should these words even leave my mouth? Does it need to be said by me? Understanding the power of who you are, in whatever role you are, whether I'm CEO or whether I'm just my son's mother. Does it need to be said by me? And does it need to be said right now? So think about that. You're in a meeting, someone did something inappropriate. Do I need to say it? Do I need to say it now? And does it need to be said by me? It just makes you think for a second. So for the most part, I end up calling a person aside after a meeting. And that's that thoughtfulness of the power of your words, right? I know the impact of being diminished in front of a room. I lived that for a early part of my career. So I practice hard not to do that. And that practicing the spoken word, and then the listening skills, which is to listen. So it's hard because you are training your ears to hear, but you're taming your tongue. And it's two very different kinds of work that you have to do. I tell leaders today, because of all the devices, you just can't be in two places at one time. And I don't know anybody who's ever been able to do it well. And I see it in meetings all the time. It's one of my pet peeves. And they learned this at Tower, because that's a mission critical organization. You are going to have emergencies. But it can't be everybody in the room having an emergency all the time. And the rule was, if you're really having an emergency, leave the room, because it's distracting to everybody else that you're sitting there texting.
Right.
And more aggravating is they're texting people across the room. Really? Can't you just say what you want to say in the room? But it was teaching people how to be honest, how to use your voice in the room, not outside the room. Everybody knows this. You have a big meeting, and then where's everybody go? 2 people in this room, another one in that room. Those are the meetings outside the meetings. Have them in the meeting. We all get better if we're able to have honest conversations right in the meeting and listen to each other.
Right.
So those are some of the really most important. I still think listening is the most important communication skill
Yes.
of all of them. You can
Right.
sort of learn written, you can write your speeches verbal, you can cover that. It's the listening skill that's the hardest to fix.
Yeah.
The other piece I've learned is to not bear grudges. I cut my teeth in early years. It was hard. I could have disliked everybody that I ever worked with. And I learned, and my mother used to say this, don't dwell on the things you cannot change. Okay? That makes you think about tomorrow and forget about yesterday. It really forces you to think about, why am I still talking about something I can't change? Why am I dwelling on this thing? Why am I bearing this grudge? Ultimately, it helps you with learning how to forgive. You know, forgiveness is a gift to yourself, not to
It
the other
is.
person. A lot of people think, oh, I'm not going to forgive them. They wronged me. The forgiveness is not for
Eats
them.
you up.
It's for you.
Right.
It's to let you move beyond and say,
Yeah.
I forgive you. I'm moving forward.
Right.
Right? Doesn't mean you were right, I was wrong. It doesn't mean I was right and you were wrong. It means I forgive you, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Hopefully the other person will forgive you as well.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
We all learn those things together.
Right.
But I think those are the really core pieces of being able to be your whole self every day.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I, over the years, have used with certain people, I'll say, before you speak, run it in your head 3 times and make sure that's what you think you should be saying.
The advent of text messaging, and you
Yeah.
know, I go all the way back to, what was it called? What was the first AOL? What did they even call that? Instant Messenger. But I go back to when IBM was charging for emails.
Yes.
When they first introduced it, you paid per email.
Right.
We cannot even fathom a world like that. And that was only 30
Oh,
years ago.
Wasn't that
30
you?
years ago.
Yeah.
So the world is changing at such a rapid speed. I think that's a big challenge
Yes.
to everybody. It's the pace.
Yes.
It's the pace of change and how that is forcing us to live differently, to think differently.
Right.
I was in Philadelphia today, and I was smack in the middle of Temple University, and I couldn't find the building that I was looking for. So I thought, I'll ask one of these kids. I could not find one student that did not have earbuds in and their phone, and they were looking only at the sidewalk.
Yeah.
No one ever looked up. I didn't feel like I could even stop them to say, where is this hall?
Yeah.
Could you just point me to it? And I thought, isn't that odd that nobody's talking? It was, everybody was individual. And there were lots of kids. I mean, I was right in the middle of campus.
Yeah.
We all need to learn to be aware of the moment, to be in the moment.
Right.
And I would say that I couldn't get their attention.
Huh.
Interestingly, because everybody's
Yeah.
connected to a device, their ears are plugged, so they don't even notice you. They're not looking up, so even if you were going like this, you're not going to get anybody's attention. It was a little startling to me
Yes.
to see it's so concentrated.
I think COVID had a lot to do with that. We talk
agree.
about that in education all the time. And so how do you break out of that? This is an incoming class that didn't go to high school in COVID. They're a lot more outgoing and out in the residence halls and coming to events, but they had a more normal high school experience than COVID created for several years of classes. And that's very difficult now because we've got to have education that can help people move into professional jobs where they have to be engaged and have to be good followers, because part of leadership is followership.
Followership, creating
The two
followership.
go
Correct.
together.
Correct.
Right.
Right. If you can't create followership, you can't be a great leader.
Right.
Correct. Correct. You know, a little bit of it is purposeful change, right? Is people deciding that we're going to unhook for 3 hours.
Right.
Just start small. Can you go, I mean, don't we all panic if you leave your house and you don't have your phone? Right? 30 years ago, you didn't even think about that. There was no phone to take out the door.
Although
with you.
today I left mine at home so I didn't have to turn it off. It won't make a noise while
It
we're
won't
talking.
make a noise, correct. But we usually
Right.
when we can't find that device.
Yeah.
So I think it's purposefully trying to be better connected to each other, and to the world around you. I always go out of my way to say hello to people, especially to people who I think no one ever says hello to, right? Just because maybe I'm the only person today that might say hello to that person.
Yeah.
And make them recognize that I'm greeting, I see you.
Right.
I see that you are here.
Yeah.
And just doing too little of that.
Well, and
And I agree, COVID had big
oh,
impact.
it was tough.
But we can all agree COVID had big impact on our mental health,
Right.
right? And that is because we are choosing not to stray out of what we had to jump into,
Right.
right? So how do we get the courage to go back out?
Yes.
How do we get to be more engaged,
Right.
right?
Because we have to be. We're
Correct.
social beings.
We're
We
social
are.
beings, correct.
But I agree with you. Communications is probably the most important part of being a leader. And so communicating to out there, not always on your phone. And in fact, people say things through email they would never say to your face, I've found over the years. And so we've got to be able to communicate out there and not just through technology. And listening, hearing people, and then also, as you said, speaking and watching and being aware of what you're saying is such a critical piece.
Yeah. That beware the spoken word, really dangerous in the world
Right.
of texts and social media and Facebook posting, and you can never reel the words back in.
Right.
Even though you might think, oh, I can't believe I said that,
Yeah.
you can never reel them back in.
Right.
They've been heard, they've been felt, and they're out there. So yeah, and the temptation is so great. I think, because it's so readily available, that it's a hard lesson. It's
Yeah.
such a hard lesson. Hard to be working with young kids today, I'm sure. But we all know that we were mentally more healthy when we were more communal.
Yeah.
And if we could get to being more communal again and finding ways, it's interesting to me because of COVID and because of safety protocols and lots of compromised people, we got rid of things like our volunteers that would come through the door, the service dogs, right?
Right.
People love. The little softball league, that with the employees. So we brought all that back.
Yeah.
And I said, we got to bring the volunteers back. It's time to invite people back in. That brings the outside world in
Right.
a little bit more. But they set up the teams this year, and they have been explosive. So I would say, if you're having trouble getting reconnected, join a little sports team. And these are not people who are athletes. This
Right.
is just people out
For
there
fun.
having fun.
Yes.
And in some cases, trying to be the worst team.
Yeah.
Because they probably are, right? So they may as well have fun.
And there's always
with
awards
it.
for that.
But it's being out.
Yeah.
It's being out and being, again, communal.
Right.
So we just need to remind
Some of
ourselves.
the other things I thought from a leadership perspective is communication and being out and interaction. And then as a leader, I also find things like don't ask people for their opinion if you really don't want their opinion. I hated that when a leader above me would ask me for my opinion, and you knew they weren't going to use it and already made their decision. And say what you mean.
So
Mean what you say.
correct. But I would say there's a tweak, okay? In doing this work, a lot of people would say, they don't listen to me. And I said, there's a big difference between listening and not doing what you wanted, right? There is a difference. So are they really not listening? Or are they, and again, I don't think we listened well. I will say this, I got my teeth in a different generation, but nobody was listening. Once you got to the top, you knew all the answers. So it was hard to break through to get people to listen to something different. But once they begin listening and they begin seeing it, so we can't give up just because we think they already made up their mind, because maybe they're good listeners and maybe they will consider it. But I know that I've said many times, I considered all of what you all shared with me, but ultimately I had to make one decision.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the
buck
decision that was
stops
made.
there.
Doesn't mean
Yep.
that we didn't hear you.
Right.
It's different than we couldn't do what you thought we should do.
Right.
And helping people understand, don't accuse us of not listening. We're listening, may not be doing exactly what you want,
Right.
but we are listening.
Yes.
And that's a big difference.
Right.
Big difference.
So one of the things we have on our list here is, what about AI? What do you
about
think?
AI? So I'm one of those people that, and I did technologies for banking. So I did a lot of innovative technology, or we learned it. Today, you wouldn't consider it innovative. Back in the day, it was incredibly innovative. There were no ATMs, there were no debit cards, there were none of the simple, no home banking, right? None of that existed. So we had to innovate. And when the internet came out, I said this, they are letting a big genie out of the bottle, and that genie is never going to go back in.
Oh, no.
And we let it out of the bottle without really understanding how to manage it, right? Or how to help people that now have suddenly the world at the end of a button. How do you use it, right? How do you use it well? AI is a little different. It's growing on technologies than on the backs of lots of technological change. And if you understand it, it's using lots and lots and lots of data. What's the IBM brilliant computer that they use? Oh gosh, it has a name. But it's been doing this supercomputing for a very long time, right? Now it's coming out to be more in the world of commerce. It's becoming more public, right? People can access it. Teachers, I don't know how teachers, especially with younger kids that don't really value the education, they're just there because they have to be there, how they're going to use this to just get through, right? Will we forget to teach our kids how to think? Because that's what I worry about. It's that critical thinking. It's not the rote of doing. We've made that simpler, just the calculators, right? But it's the thinking behind how you do it that I worry about how we'll preserve that. I do think AI has great ability to automate simple tasks, right? But we've been doing that. We've been automating. You know, everybody gets stuck in, what do we call them, the phone chains when you're pressing buttons, and that's all automation of what people used to do, right? I said the computer, what it did is it made all of us data entry clerks, where we used to have lots of people who did all this stuff. I never had to write my own letters. I certainly never typed them. Today, that's all we do. We do all of that. So it's shifting jobs, and AI has the ability to really change. And in certain areas, and I'll use medicine because we were talking about this most recently, AI has the ability to find the rarest of diseases that the normal human being is maybe not going to find, that needle in a haystack. And there are a lot of people that live with undiagnosed diseases. So that has enormous value. Being able to pour through and find the one record out of the gazillion, right? But it will also displace people. There's no question that AI has the potential to be people displacing, but it can also become, and this is what we learned with the internet, with computers, with PCs, with phones, how we make the people enhancing. So most of us would say that I'm working harder than I ever had to work before, more hours, I'm more available. People have disregard for a work day anymore. You know, you get texts at 10 o'clock at night, Sunday mornings. We are all being pushed by the technology, and we're just absorbing it. We're absorbing it, and we're learning how to work 12 hours instead of 8. And we're learning how to do 500 emails instead of 50, like we used to be able to do the old manual way. So I see it as very enabling in some areas. It will be displacing, but how do we apply it to the world in a good way? I think AI has a lot of potential to add, because we're not smart enough to check it either, right? So when does that data become the fact? And we don't know whether we should believe it or not believe it.
Right.
Although that's an issue just generally right now.
It is. Yeah.
How
I
do we
think that's
believe it?
one of the biggest
It's a big
issues
question.
with AI.
Will we believe everything that it produces?
Right.
because it can reduce a lot.
Oh, it can. And that's where critical thinking and educating is going to be so important, is in the critical thinking of, can you discern what's real and what isn't in AI? But I think, like any technology, it provides opportunity, provides other kinds of jobs. So jobs change. They do.
They morph. Right.
And,
Right.
It used to be you would say, oh, you'd have 3 to 5 careers in your lifetime. Then it went to 7 to 9. And now they'll say, oh, it could be more than 10. And that's careers, not jobs.
Right.
So you just change with it. And people learn to adapt and change with it. Change is such a critical part today of the world we live in. And being able to accept that change and figure out how you can accept that change and be part of it, because it's rapid, as you pointed out earlier.
Well, you can't stop it.
You can't.
Right, you can't stop it. And that was some of the arguments that I made back when people were afraid to do home banking.
Yeah.
We're not going to be able to stop this.
Right.
So we either figure out how we're going to do it, or we get left behind.
Yep.
It was the same way I felt with ATMs. It's the same way with debit cards.
Right.
It's the same way with using, I call it self-service medicine.
Yeah.
We have got to figure this out.
Yeah.
More, and I look at young people, especially my son. He doesn't have a primary care doctor.
Yeah.
He doesn't live the same way I lived. He lived a different way. He's way more comfortable with picking up the phone and having a conversation about how he's feeling, using technology. You go to a kiosk. I have to go get my blood pressure and all these things, and you run to a kiosk and do that.
Right.
That's how technology is changing. AI will be the same. It's another technological shift. I just think this one is moving fast, and everybody wants to play in the space. So we don't really have the few really good test areas where it's been done, it's been proven, it's working. There are some pockets, there are some great pockets. But when you get into, and I use this, life and death decisions, which is what we do in hospitals, right? When you get into that arena, I'm not sold that people want to just hear what a computer algorithm kicks out. Right. Mainly because people don't fit into the boxes that we design for them. I did a ton of marketing, and I was always struck by, we put people in boxes by the neighborhood you live in or by your preferences or whatever it is. They don't stay in those boxes. So especially at an individual level with your health care, it's hard to see how that displaces the need for the physician that's well trained and asks those different, judgment.
Right.
We haven't quite learned judgment and how you apply judgment. But I've said that for a long time. What we pay our humans for is to use good judgment.
Yeah.
So let's hope we do. I don't know if you have any questions, but I know we're coming up to end time. It's been nice to chat with everyone.
It has.
Hi, thank you. I hope everyone was taking notes. I know I have a lot of notes. This was such a great discussion, from Sue playing hooky, Deb working at Friendlies, and of course all the things that leaders should have, that really spoke to me. I think we only have one question right now, which is, we just welcomed the incoming class of 2029. Which has created an exciting sense of renewal on campus. If you could share one message with future leaders in Berks County about confidence, resilience, and leadership, what would it be?
Wow, one word.
I know.
I would go with engage. Engage, get involved, step into something. There are so many things that need our help, or that need our support, or that could use just our brain power or our brawn, but engage. I say this to the city too, engage with your citizens. Listen to what they're saying, especially for the young people. There's so much opportunity to engage with the community around you, and it will give you as much back as you give to it. So engage, one word.
I know one word is really hard over there. I think opportunity. I just love opportunities, whatever they are. Try it. I always find in leadership that you have to try things. Some things will work. All right, not everything's going to work, as you pointed out earlier.
Right.
It's okay to fail. So you have to take risks. If you never take risk, you never change. And so you have to look at the opportunities as they come and take them, because you never know what's going to happen with it.
I had a number of nieces and nephews that went away to college, and I tell every kid go to college. 4 years is going to fly.
Oh,
You've been
yes.
dying to get out of high school, but trust me, you're going to walk through that door and then turn your head and it's going to be graduation day. Do everything the college has to offer.
Mm-hmm.
Take every seminar, go to every single theater, play, whatever it is. Do it all, because you will never have this chance again
Yep.
in your life. And I think that the message that we need to share with our college kids,
Yes.
which is take advantage. This opportunity, and I laughingly say there'll be no more Christmas vacations. You know, once you're done, you're working. You got to college, you're working.
At least that's what the parents want.
That's what everybody wants. But it's the 4 years
Yeah.
to expand yourself, to stretch every
Mm-hmm.
part of you, and in a place where you can, where there are not consequences, where you can experiment a little bit, where you can think outside the box. Yeah, take advantage, but engage.
Yes.
Because I heard it a little bit is, what would you say to the Reading community leaders? Engage,
Yeah.
right? We've got a lot of things that are good happening. We've got a lot of tough stuff coming at us. We all need to engage, because this is where we live. I still live here in Berks County
Right.
50 years later.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, as I came into this community, so the last time I had been in Reading were the outlets.
Outlets, of course.
And I used to come up, I was working in Washington, D.C., and would come up to go shopping at least twice a year. It was so fun. So I got a call to come to Reading. We talking outlets? And they said, no. So when I came and seeing the area, I really think this area has lots of opportunity. I think what happens sometimes is that people have lived here and they get blinders on and they don't see the opportunities this area offers. There's so much that goes on. There's the rural, there's the suburban, and there's the city, all within 20 minutes, 15 minutes, which is wonderful.
Right.
There's the farms, which are so beautiful, and you can pick apples, and then you can go down and see a show or a concert all on the same day. And the restaurants are good, the shopping is good, and I come from a city in Raleigh, and I have found it's great here. I love being here. And so the leadership has to see those opportunities.
It's a special place.
Mm-hmm.
It's different. And I know all places think that they're different. I come from a different place, so I have some experience in a different place. But my life took me all over, right? So my work took me all over. And it's palpable, the special place that Berks County is.
Yes.
I like this. We love to hate ourselves, right? We're hard on
Right.
ourselves. We all need to learn how to embrace
Right.
what we do great and work hard at what we are not perfect
Right.
at yet.
I think organizations need to do that.
Correct.
Leaders need to embody that
Right.
and get the followership to come along and understand the greatness of the organization. I mean, we all have areas we need to improve. We all have areas we could probably do something better than we're doing, but we have to be open to how to do something different and how to take an opportunity and make it happen.
And to work together, to strengthen. We sometimes work against each other.
Yes.
And that's not healthy in a community.
Right.
The goal should be that everyone is getting stronger, not we're working to get only a few of the strong ones. Everyone should be getting stronger.
Yeah.
So thank you to you, Debra, let me say that personally, for coming in. Albright means a lot to this community, means a lot to me personally. I spend a lot of time here, and I love it. I love it. I love what it does for the community. I love the outreach you do to the Reading School District. I'm all about the kids.
Yeah.
If we can't save the kids, does anything else really matter?
Right.
And you've done a ton to do that kind of work. I think Albright's story is not as well told as it should be. So
Yeah.
I'm hopeful that you will
Thank
get to
you.
tell that story, but I'm thankful that you did this. So
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I know. I hear, oh, we're the best kept secret. No, we want to be the best
I want to
kept
be a
secret.
secret. Correct.
It's a great
Correct.
place
Correct.
with amazing outcomes because of alumni like you, Sue.
Thank you.
So it's I've loved being here. I'm
Good.
having a great time. As I say, I tell people, I'm having a great time. People are like, are you crazy?
Hard work. Hard work is very invigorating.
Oh, it is.
It's
It's
very
so
invigorating.
fun. I love it. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Deborah and Sue. We really appreciate your conversation this evening. And thanks for everyone who tuned in.